Okay, so I hope I am in frame and y'all can see me because I can see you. So yeah, so I know this is not like my typical kind of sit down conversational way that I go about doing things, but I am literally about to walk out the house, and I felt like what better way to bring in a new year than a get ready with me update. So here recently, I've really been in like a full slump. The holidays, okay, even though I go overboard with decorating for Thanksgiving and Christmas, I really struggle with them. And I struggle with them. Y'all, I just did these braids and I'm almost ready to take them out. But anyway, I really struggle with them because my mom passed when I was younger around Christmas time. So with that being said, I really struggle. I just need some moisturizer on my lips. This looks horrible, but you know, I'm gonna make it work. I really struggle with the holiday season in general because of that. And then on the 10th of this month, it makes a full decade that I've been out of the Army. And it's devastating. To me, it's devastating because I really enjoyed my time in. I wish I didn't have to get out. But God's will is God's will. I ain't gonna complain about it because I've had a good life. But it's been something that's really been weighing on me. The closer and closer I got to my 10-year anniversary, after I got out, and the reason why it started weighing on me the way it did is because I got out for my daughter. It's a whole story for a whole nother day. I'll sit down and talk to y'all about it. But long story short, I didn't have help. Let's start there. I didn't have help with her. And I just didn't want another woman raising my child. End of story. One of my sisters said that she would, you know, help me out with her, but she was stationed in Lakeland Heath, London, and I was stationed in Barstow, California, so that part. But nonetheless, it's really weighed on me. So when it came time to homeschool, I realized that I had to check to make sure that my camera was on because I didn't see my little info, you know, counting the minutes and stuff. But when it came time to homeschool, I realized that I was going to dig myself further into being a homemaker. Which the sacrifice was necessary. I mean, I don't complain. I'm not upset about, you know, the choices that I made to become a homemaker and to be present with my child. But at the same time, it's been a challenge to grow up and maintain at the same time. And it was a very hectic time for me in my life. A lot of things had went on. And so it was kind of like I was making a lot of decisions that at no point benefited me. Let's just be platonic. And I say this a lot. And some people, they don't get it. Some people, they don't want to get it. But the reality of it is that as a parent, every decision that you make will not directly benefit you. And because of that, I was 19 when I had her. And I wasn't bitter about the decisions that I had to make. I was more or less like struggling to make decisions that I had no support in making, if that makes sense. So this past year, okay, no, so let's backtrack. 2018, I actually went back to work. I did go to school full time the first few years that I separated from the Army, but I did want to maintain vigilance with my daughter, so I felt like I really just exchanged a job for a job. And to me, it was just like, if I was gonna be doing all of this, then I could have stayed in. Like, why do I like, I know some people, they're probably just like, you know, it's different, but to me it wasn't. School is a full-time job, and my background is actually in logistics and transportation. And so when I went in the Army, that was my job, logistics. And I worked closely with the motor pool. But when I got out, I was like, well, I'll just contract and I'll go back downrange as a civilian contractor. I can dictate my schedule a little bit better. And I can just do those things that, you know, I want to do. Well, as the Lord would have it, none of that went down. Okay, sis, none of that. I actually ended up changing my major 4 times. Initially, it was logistics, then it was supply chain management and operations. And then I switched it. No, first it was paralegal studies. Because at one point in my life, I was absolutely dead set that I was going to be the top lawyer in Atlanta. Okay, sis? That went smooth out the window. But after I changed from paralegal studies, I went to logistics, then supply chain management and operations. And then finally I said, okay, I have literally lived in this industry forever. There's nothing that DOT is going to update. There are no laws that are going to be updated that I'm not going to find out about. Why? Because this is what my family does. So why am I going to go pay thousands of dollars for education I am literally already getting? So I'm going to go get a sheet of paper that tells me what I already know? Like, no. Like, hell no. And then I'm about to exhaust my benefits on something that, on a career field that I truly don't love. Like, I'm good at it. Like, it's my job. But I don't love it. So I said, okay, if I'm going to go to school for something, I'm going to go to school for something that I love. And I did. I went back to school for interior design. And that was interesting. I do have my degree, my associates in interiors, and I do plan to go back to finish out my bachelor's, master's, and I'm contemplating whether I want a doctoral in it. It really all depends on life and how life ends up going for me. I know a lot of this is kind of like not related to homeschool, but it is related to homeschool. So if you stay hitched on, you'll kind of start seeing where I'm going. You'll start picking up what I'm putting down, okay? So I want to say I moved back from my last duty station to early 2011, 2012. And it was around that time that I met my husband. my current husband, which that is another story for another day, sis. We'll get into it. And I was just at a point in my life where I was like, okay, I understand that I will always be home. I understand that. But in the process of me being home and being present, I have to be happy while I'm home. So needless to say, that came with its own challenges because my husband, he was also in the Army as well. And he was dealing with a very serious bout of PTSD when I came in the picture. So that was, oh Jesus, that was intense, but we made it through. It actually, dealing with his PTSD while trying to go to school for interior design and still raise my daughter, be amicable with her father, and repair relationships that I honestly ran from when I joined the Army was real interesting, to say the least. Yeah, sis, it was real. I'm gonna just put it like that. It's the whole story for a whole nother day. But needless to say, it really put me on a path of what my real passion was and how I wanted to be a part of the solution and not always a part of the problem. I had already started receiving my compensation, and he hadn't. So I really started going with him to VA, to all of his mental health appointments, to all of his PC appointments, really dealing with the doctors, the nurses. Just that whole dynamic really made it worthwhile for me. And what I mean is, I actually started out in healthcare interior design. And later on, it blossomed into really defining environmental studies concerning our veterans. Now, as a hustle, back after I got out of the military, I started organizing storage rooms of TA50 gear. And when I first started, it was literally a hustle, like braiding hair. I've been braiding hair since I was about 11 or 12. And it's something that has always been a fallback for me. So it came to no surprise to me that when, I started, like, I just have an issue with stuff not being where it's supposed to be at. I didn't know that it was going to blossom into me really wanting to go for a specific study in interior design focused around a real problem. I just knew my environment dictated my attitude, and I remember growing up and getting a lot of essays from my aunt, like a lot of literature on how cluttered the mind can be. And if you're not really dealing with your environment, your mind will stay cluttered. So I always carried that with me. And I will always take account to like how stuff looked around me and exactly what my real goals were when it came to my environment. So fast forward, I moved back and I decided, okay, this is what I'm going to go to school for. And my daughter was at the point where she was actually about to go to school now. So I'm left-handed, she's right-handed. And I realized that I could not really teach her early on dexterity because I just didn't want her to lose her ability to just be right-handed. And it became extremely volatile to me, the whole school system. Like, it just became volatile and very aggressive to me, because it was like, I had to consistently explain to people, like, okay, English is not my daughter's first language. Creole and Japanese is. So therefore, who was watching her while mommy was pulling 22-hour work days? Who was watching her while mommy was away doing, like, working? Like, I just want you to think about this. And because of that, it was a really rocky road, even for me and my husband, to get to the point where I brought it back on the table and said, okay, honey, this is just what it's going to be. We're going to homeschool, and if you can't get with it, then I don't know what to tell you, but I can't keep doing this. Like, I can't, my baby is not your test subject. And so when we started our first semester in homeschool, we actually started in July of last year. And I know this might sound a little bit, you know, all over the place, but I'm bringing it back around so you can understand. And so that was summer of 2019. Now, 2018, I worked that entire year. I worked as a healthcare interior designer, one of the lead designers, and I really thoroughly enjoyed the job. I enjoyed everything about it. I enjoyed the problem solving. It was absolutely the best and worst year of my life. It was the best year of my life because I finally walked into my purpose, not my job, not my career, but my purpose. Careers are amazing. I've had a career in logistics forever. I've had a career in transportation forever. I mean, that I've had amazing career in that, but my purpose and my fulfillment comes in interior design. So it was the best year of my life because I finally got to do something for Shannon. I wasn't just waking up at 4:30 to cook my daughter breakfast and put her on the bus. Another story for another day. I just, you know, I've always wanted to homeschool. She was just like, I want to go be with people. And I'm just like, I'm here. Whatever. And the whole bus situation, my husband was like, don't deprive her of a childhood experience. And I'm like, we can go catch a charter bus. Like, why we gotta be... Anyway. So, nonetheless, it was trying because here I was, you know, having been a veteran, going through the process of the VA I worked at as a actual consumer, and I saw problems. And I'm not one to continuously complain about stuff. I'm one to see the problem, remedy the problem, and then move on to the next, you know, the next thing. And here I was attempting to be a part of the solution, and they just wanted to keep the problem going. Like, that was so, like, I couldn't get it. Like, I was just so dumbfounded. Like, here we are, you know, going back and forth. I'm spending, you know, hours in these long drawn out meetings attempting to be a part of the solution, and it felt like I was not being productive. I'm one that if I can't see at least some movement, I feel like there's no movement at all. And it was very discouraging. And like here I was, like my mentor, who I absolutely adore, was reaching out to me, and she's like, hey, I want to, you know, get a little bit of an update on what's going on, and, you know, let's chat. And she's been in the industry for quite some while, and she just felt like it was such an amazing thing that here I was, a veteran myself, looking to serve other veterans. Like, how could she offer, like, how could we do something in the industry to bring, you know, help me bring my dream to life? And it was such an amazing moment, like career-wise, like my purpose being fulfilled. And it just didn't seem like nobody wanted it. It felt like, now y'all, this bus done rolled past my house 4 times. I didn't count it. Okay, I have counted. That must be a new driver. But, you know, I really was trying to establish some type of procedures, you know, because federally, the way they spend money is completely different than state or even private. With private, as long as you got the money, we can make it happen. Like, it is what it's going to be. But with federal, it's a completely different monster. Like, you have at least 10 different people touching this one project before it could even be put into contracting. And then after contracting, that's a whole nother ball game just to get it, you know, paid for and installed. So here I was, literally living my best life at work, and my home life was suffering. Now, why was my home life suffering? Because mommy went to work and mommy was predominantly doing everything. So when we finally made the switch to do homeschool, I literally had a total shift in my life. And it was a different shift for me, and it was a whole shift for Serenity too, because it was like she went from being completely social to now it's just back to being me, her, and daddy. And it was a huge shift for me because it went from, is that my debit card y'all can read? Yes, Jesus, y'all can read it. Lordy, Lord, Lord. I'm gonna have to figure something out how to blank down. But like it was a complete adjustment for everybody, including my husband, because I just made, honestly, I can be very irrational with some of my decisions, and I don't care. To be quite honest, I don't. I feel like if I said it and I talked to you about it, this is your fair warning. So therefore, I've done my due diligence to properly notify you. And after I've notified you, that means that I'm ready to make a move. And so, when we started back in July, I genuinely had absolutely no idea what the hell I was getting myself into. I just knew that if I was literally working sometimes 10, 15 hour days, and coming home and reteaching concepts, I could do this full time. Like, there was no need for me to send my kid out my house for 8 hours and you still coming back to me to spend an additional 5 hours relearning concepts. Like, that was unnecessary to me. So, this cat just rolled up on my house. Alright, let me stay focused and get ready so we can go grocery shopping. But, needless to say, I didn't know what I was doing. We started off at the co-op and we left the co-op. Nothing negative. It just wasn't for us. I felt like for the amount of money that I was spending, I was expecting something different. I was expecting something more. And it wasn't that. It was truly a supplement to what I was already doing at home. And the thing about it is that, let's say if we're on chapter 13, they're on chapter 2 or 3. So it was kind of like, why am I paying you to be like the school, you know. So that you know, kind of dissolved real quickly. We did one semester. It was a good opportunity for her to be social, but the focus for me is not to sustain her social life, but to sustain her life after she leaves home. You can be social anytime. So with that being said, we are no longer doing the co-op. Yes, I do look for other things for her to get into. I just don't feel like a co-op and spending money like that is it. Instead, we started with competitive cheer. Will I be vlogging about it? Absolutely not. Will I be talking about it? Maybe, maybe not. But that's the way that I'm socializing her. Because that seems to be a huge thing, that people think that, you know, with homeschool, your kid just doesn't get socialized. They just stay up under the two of y'all. And I'm kind of like, I'm her mother. If I don't know no stranger, surely this little booger doesn't know a stranger either. I could be missing it, but hey. So, measurements. I genuinely did not really learn measurements until I had a real life application of it. So, that was literally when I got in the Army, and it became a, you better learn this. But furthermore, when it came to her education for 4th and 5th grade, this is when you start to indoctrinate kids. And I didn't want nobody telling my kid that black people wanted to be in slavery and that this was an option that we had. I didn't feel like those were the kind of lies that I wanted to endorse. And then furthermore, I also wanted more one-on-one time with her. Am I kicking myself in the ass? Yeah. She don't see a need to separate. She don't feel like she need no breaks. Ever. And it's like, I don't get it. You see me all day. You see me all day, every day. Like, you can take 10 minutes. Nope, not this kid. As a only child. So, we took about 3 months to go through her multiplication tables. And one thing my daughter is really good with is memorizing stuff. Like, she's really, really good at like verbatim memory. So if you tell her to read a passage 3 times, after the 3rd time, she can repeat word for word what that passage is saying. And so, but I also know that she's one of those studiers that memorizes stuff for the moment, and then next week when you come back and ask her about it, she's brain dumped the information. So I didn't want to teach her multiplication tables in the way that I know she would have learned it and then brain dumped it a week later. So instead, I took a very proactive stance and really took my time in teaching her. And my husband was just like, I feel like this whole thing has just been really lackadaisy. I feel like you could have done more. And I'm just like, oh yeah? Well, at least I put my money where my mouth is. Where your change at, Mr. Smith? So, from September, October, November, we did multiplication. We started division in December, and she picked that up in 2 weeks because it was literally just the backwards version of multiplication tables. Percentages, honestly, until I started teaching her a real life application, she's gonna get it because she needs to pass it. She's not gonna get it for any other reason. If I have to be platonic. So she breezed through that. She's taken the same quiz about 5 or 6 times, and each time she's done better on it. The first time she took it, she made it 75. Second time, 85. Third time, 100. And every other time after that, she made 100. When it comes down to writing, because I am a firm believer that I needed to be teaching my child how to write a freaking essay. We started off with paragraphs, and we're starting to slowly but surely dive into outlining and notes. She's picked that up like that. But like I said, she's definitely one of them kids where today she'll use it, tomorrow she'll brain dump it. So repetition has been one thing that we've really had to, continuously integrate into our day. Scriptures, she's got about 3 memory scriptures down. I'm really proud of her. What else? Social studies. I totally blanked out on social studies. So my retarded ass went to this freaking event or whatever, y'all, and picked up some books, right? And one of the books that I picked up were 3 social studies books, okay? One on mythology, one called The America That I Love, and another one I can't seem to remember, but never dawned on me to research the book before I integrated it. So my dumb ass was literally giving my kid 8th grade work and getting upset with the fact that she couldn't understand it in the 4th grade. So when I finally did the research and looked up the book, I'm like, oh, well, that's why she don't remember nothing or can't receive it. Like, it ain't on her level. So obviously we had to go back to the drawing board on that, which has been quite rewarding because once I got something that was on her level, she breezed through it. What else? Science is her thing. So one of the things that we've been doing is I'm going to start doing is incorporating the museums and stuff, because I don't want YOLO projects in my kitchen. I'm sorry. Daddy is doing the science fair project with her, which I don't know how I feel about recording that stuff. Also, what else did we start? We did which I'm going to leave a link to. We did a Econ Project with her, and with the Econ Project, it showed her the realistic life of a person with money. So I'll leave a link to it below. Y'all should do it with your kids, even if they're not in homeschool. They need to know that money don't grow on no goddamn trees, okay? They need to know. I am not here for no more iTunes, Fortnite, all that, sis. No. So I'm gonna leave that link below so that y'all can get it off Teachers Pay Teachers too. Also, what else did we do? I hit all science, social studies. So ultimately, like, her first semester of homeschool has been really interesting for me, to say the least. Especially with my 10-year anniversary coming up, it really hit home. Like, I've been doing, like, I've been at home more than I've been away from home. I've worked, I have not worked as much as I wanted to because I wanted to be more of a partner in her success than my own story. And it really started to sink in, like, wow, I really spent my entire 20s working, investing, cultivating, producing. And I watched some of my friends or some of my classmates, like, I mean, I had so many classmates that went active duty after I went active duty, and they're still active duty. And it's like, okay. And then I see some of my other classmates that are just now starting their families, and they're just now getting married, and they're just now getting to where I've been. And although it was well worth it, and I wouldn't change a day of my life in my 20s of working and growing up and cultivating and establishing a firm foundation, not only for my daughter, but just in general, my life, it did not detract from the fact that I have been such a servant that I was challenged at remembering me. I was fighting for attention in my own life. I was fighting for a place in my own schedule. And this update really was, and the reason why I filmed it the way that I did is because I really understand that a lot of mothers and a lot of black mothers never really come forth and say, I am depressed. And although I love doing this, I can't see my life any other way. Like, I can't get back those moments that I got to read a story or got to hear a story from my kid, or my baby runs up to me and says, oh my God, you're the best mother in the world. Like, I can't give those moments back. But at the same time, it's like, here I am, and I've invested, and I'm watching the manifestation happen over here. But when it comes to the things that make Shannon, it's like, where did time go? Like, I thought that, you know, not only did I have time, but I tried. So I want you guys to be encouraged and understand, like, homeschool is definitely a huge sacrifice. It's a bigger sacrifice than being a homemaker. Okay, it's way bigger than that. A lot of times y'all look at homemakers and say, oh, you're so put together, and you know, your life it's so perfect. And it's like, sweetie, if only you could see how much misery I can be in a day, and I still gotta put on a full face of bullshit to say, no, I'm good. We're gonna get through the day. I can't begin to tell you how many mothers muddle through their days in depression because they can't really come out and say how they're feeling, because somebody's going to be there to tell them, oh, you made this decision. Well, I'm not regretting my decisions. I don't regret what I chose to do for my family and for my kid. I just wish that I could have learned balance a lot sooner so that I could have been able to do everything and not one thing or the other. So for me, homeschool has really brought out a lot of emotions and a lot of realities that I didn't know were even present for me. So currently that is my update on homeschool. Like I said, I got a lot of stories for a different day, sis, but y'all have a blessed one, okay? Be good.